Hello, my name is Patrice Drake, and I'm here to offer comments of Deputy Mayor of City of Peekskill, Drew Claxton. The Ames project is proposed to run through an area in the south of our city, the city of Peekskill. The city of Peekskill is an environmental justice community and has been identified as such by your offices, the DEC. Peekskill is about 4.5 square miles, and yet it contains or approximates 3 nuclear power generators that service a broad region, a garbage incinerator that services all of Westchester, ash pit, landfill that also services the entire county, wastewater treatment plant that services the city of Peekskill and the towns of Cortland and Yorktown, and contains some of the densest private industrial use in all of Upper Westchester. In addition, the city has it was home to a recycling business and a transfer station that has left brownfields, and these await remediation and cleanup. City of Peekskill has unusually high rates of asthma, including emergency room visits and hospitalizations, as well as unusually high rates of respiratory cancers and other elevated health risks. These findings indicate that our residents are or may be vulnerable to additional exposure to environmental pollutants. Spectra's proposal to increase its gas pipeline will directly increase the aggregate environmental burdens that affect our community, which is already burdened. Peer-reviewed scientific studies indicate that emissions from compressor stations and other shale gas infrastructure are associated with negative health impacts. The materials and contaminants in the gas pipeline include well-known carcinogens that have already been discussed here. In August 2014, Peekskill Common Council passed a resolution to protect health and safety of our residents, and we asked that a comprehensive and transparent health impact assessment should be conducted by an independent entity and should be funded by Spectra. We also asked that this comprehensive and transparent assessment cover cumulative short-term as well as long-term and direct and indirect impacts of all infrastructure components and operations of the AIM project, and further thorough analysis of all of the associated impacts. To our knowledge, this assessment has not been conducted to date. And we respectfully ask you that you deny the project.
Jacqueline Drexler, it's DRECHSLER. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak tonight for myself and for my twin sister, Jocelyn DiQuizenzo. Last year, the Rockland County Legislature passed a resolution regarding the Spectra Algonquin Incremental Market Project. We called for segregated cash reserves and insurance of said company to mitigate health and safety costs to our citizens and first responders in case of an accident, and also for the health of the citizens. Our resolution calls for the protection of public health and safety. So Rockland County, along with Westchester, Putnam, and Orange counties, is already environmentally stressed. I'm not going to go into all the things that everyone else has said tonight because, well, you all speak so well and I'm just repeating things. So I will go on to the fact that what healthcare systems are going to be taking care of all of the people who may be affected by blowdowns and the contaminants that are in the air. Is private insurance going to take care of it? Medicaid, Medicare? The potential for chronic health impacts, liver, kidney, cardiovascular, neurological, as well as blood disorders and diseases such as aplastic anemia and leukemia are directly linked to the toxins that we will be breathing during leaks, accidents, compressor stations, emissions, and blowdowns. So we would like to know what is the status of that comprehensive health impact assessment. And has there been a risk assessment regarding the added burdens through expansions of these projects? We are going to be breathing in the dust particles which contain radon and lead, and this gets absorbed by our lungs and can cause considerable lung damage. Infants, children, and the elderly, people with asthma and lung conditions, as well as immunocompromised individuals will be at heightened risk from the combined emissions from these two compressor stations. Will Spectra be providing continuous air emissions monitoring, and to whom? The combination of all the other risk factors that are local to us, the bomb trains, Indian Point, well, everyone's talked about all of those things. That's a huge risk. I say that the company requesting expansion, Spectra, will be making money hand over fist with the gas going through these pipes, through our communities, and they need to pony up trust funds for our future healthcare needs, as well as for the first responders' needs. They should have to pay for any citizen that needs medical attention, whether or not there was ever a pre-existing health condition. Thank
you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lorenzo Henderson, Henderson. I'm a lifelong Rockland resident. I'm a member of Labor's Local 754. And I've worked on many Spectra projects over the years. And one thing about them, they're very strict with the safety protocol. They're number one with that. And as far as the lady had a problem with a well, you just had bad luck, because I gotta tell you, first thing they do when you go into these neighborhoods, you protect the homeowner's property, any wetlands, you set up any kind of fence for certain, things we have to do. And, it's just, I'm 100% for this, because not only, will it bring jobs like everybody else is saying, but one day we're going to need it. Then we'll do it. We won't be here discussing if we should do it. We're just going to do it. If you can't heat your house or you can't turn on your stove and cook, what are you going to do then? We're going to say, oh yeah, we better do it now, so I just think we should go along with this and we should get it done. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you for having us here tonight. And I'd really love to know where all those burly men have disappeared to, because I'd like to talk with them. I live in Hastings. I'm not even close to you, but I'm just as concerned and fearful as people who live right on top of this pipeline. Nobody here is saying that you union workers are not great workers and well trained, and that you're out to harm anybody. One of the things that baffles me is that as you've attended these hearings, you must be learning a lot about the risks to your own families and children and neighbors. And we've all talked about, I'm not going to go into it, the air quality, the health, and the safety issues. I picked this up here. How would you feel if this was your house or your child's school in the middle of the day blowing up, and not really happy? So here we are, we're all guilty because we're all addicted to our fossil fuels. And we all of us, have to look to a future where we are no longer dependent on fossil fuels. We have to stop this. And by building more pipelines and expanding pipelines and all these buildings that service the pipelines, we're just continuing the problem, because climate change is here and it's only going to get worse unless we stop now our dependency on fossil fuels. I don't know how I'm going to cook my food on my gas stove. I have to figure something out about it. I tried to get solar panels. My condo board won't let me get solar panels. But what we need is the DEC to deny and the state to have an energy plan that makes sense. And we need We need to train workers, all of you, in renewable, in building solar panels, in installing solar, in building wind turbines and installing wind turbines, because that's the only way your children and your grandchildren and future generations are going to be alive on this planet. So we need the state to participate in training workers. There's got to be a way that we can change the way we're living on this planet. And if we don't, I hate to say it, but we're pretty doomed.
Jean Walsh.
Do you need me to spell my name?
Just make sure I
Walsh.
Thank you.
My comments are regarding the Algonquin pipeline and the impacts that this pipeline may have on the city of Peekskill. As already discussed, Peekskill has been designated an environmental justice area, and that was based on an assessment that was funded by a grant from the DEC. Spectra wants to expand the size of the current pipeline as well as modify the metering stations in Peekskill and put a new pigging station in Buchanan on Peekskill's border. This is in direct contrast to what the designation of EJ allows for, as it is expected that these structures will impact the environment in Peekskill and the health of its citizens. The question we have been asking is, what will be emitted by these expanded modified new structures? How will that impact the already overburdened people in the city of Peekskill? And why is Peekskill again asked to bear this burden? The answer has yet to come. Spectra self-reports their emissions to the EPA. This leaves a lot of unanswered questions like, how often do they test? How accurate are their findings, etc.? What is needed is a fair and transparent evaluation of current or existing 42-inch pipelines and their metering stations, as well as pigging stations that handle the volume of gas, as well as the consistency of the gas being proposed to run through those pipelines. Spectra has been asked, and they have refused. It begs the question, why? Why not submit to this type of evaluation if there is nothing to hide? That leaves the DEC to protect the health and welfare of the citizens of Peekskill by denying permits until all questions regarding the impact of this project are answered. The DEC needs to consider how the emissions from this new facility will impact the environment in Peekskill, a city already dealing with a toxic brew of emissions from the current facilities in existence there. Will this new facility work in a synergistic manner, exacerbating current environmental issues in Peekskill? Will this increase some of the existing health issues? Will it create new health issues? Who is responsible for the economic burden that this will place on the sick? I do not understand how the DEC can label Peekskill an environmental justice area, then let permits to Spectra so Peekskill citizens can again bear a disproportionate share of the negative environmental consequences resulting from, this time, governmental policies that will only benefit another region and Spectra. If this goes through, the DEC
Sherry Ragland, R-A-G-L-I-N.
Sherry Ragland, R-A-G-L-I-N. I live in Rockland County, and I'm here. Yeah. And I'm here to just really request you to do your job, which you did so well with the fracking issue. You considered it long and hard, and it was found not to be in the public interest, and so we don't have fracking. In the same instance, we just ask that you consider this long and hard, and if it's not found to be in the public interest, that you also say no. Basically, the objective here is to have you do the further evaluation. We've talked about all these things, I don't want to repeat them all, but the air is very poor. I developed asthma. My daughter developed asthma since we moved here. I'm a teacher. The amount of asthma alerts I see on student information is really shocking. So that's not a lie. What will this project do to the air in Rockland County with these compressors? That needs to be determined. And if there are monitors put up, and it is found that the air is being polluted, what exactly will Spectra do? How much money will be set aside to deal with the issues that may arise? And if they do blow up Indian Point, what will they do? And what exactly will they do if one of those bomb trains is blown up over the pipeline as well, or the transmission lines? And the bomb trains are 132 cars sometimes, because I've counted them from the Hudson River. So we have all of this stuff coming down through the lower Hudson Valley. We're quite overburdened with all these energy issues and transportation issues, and it's really not fair to us as New Yorkers that we should bear all the burden, all the health risks, all the environmental damages for corporate profits. So please, it's not really your job to consider economic growth. I know that jobs are important, but your job is to consider environmental conservation. So please do as good a job as you've done with the fracking. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, judges. Spelling is DERRINGER. Thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you all for this opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you for receiving these words. I don't know a lot about fracking. I don't even know a lot of facts about the environment. I don't even know a lot about working because I've been so sick my whole life I haven't been able to. But I'm not here to tell you what's important or what you should do. And I don't know what it's like to be you or any of you. I'm here to tell you you're powerful. All of you. You're powerful. I'm powerful. We're stewards of a community. Here we're thinking about what do we need? Well, I need to go home and sleep tonight. I need a place to sleep. So do you, right? We need to eat. We need our kids to be safe. We need all these things. What's an immediate source of that? Is it, maybe it's money, jobs, right? It is. And that's true. It's what we put our heart into every day. It's what we work for, what we put our blood and tears into. What's an underlying source of that? I would say there are at least two things, and it includes what I just said about work. And it's our hearts, and it is our planet. So it's just a choice. What do you want to do? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. I don't like to tell people what to do, but I do know something that we could think about our needs today. We could think about how we're going to get through this month, how we're going to pay the bills. We can also think about what's going to happen in 1,000 years. And are we still going to be able to live here? I don't know. But, you know, it's pretty important to me. And we're not going to destroy this planet. Let me just tell you that. The planet's pretty strong. And it's nice if we care about that. I love this planet. I want it to be healthy, but you know what? We're just going to destroy ourselves if we don't do something about it. So, you know, I welcome everyone to just think about it. Don't have to decide right now. We're not in a rush. The Earth's not going to die today. But, you know.
Good evening. Last name is Vaughey, V as in Victor, Aughey. Where do I start? So many issues, so little time. First, let me just be clear. Please do not approve this project as proposed. Recently, Spectra quantified a split in the amount of gas volumes in the old line to remain and the new proposed line. If you must approve something, please consider approval of only to work on the 30-inch line and deny any work on the 26-inch line. Almost 70% of Algonquin's immediate need is addressed within their 30-inch line, which is to remain. There is also currently reserve horsepower and capacity, and by horsepower they must have the capacity in the existing 26-inch line, and there is new reserve horsepower in their 30-inch line. Between this reserve horsepower and the related capacity, and any reserve capacity in other gas lines, this should be reviewed to see if it can address that remaining 30% need. If there's any shortfall, why can't there be, as other projects are proposing, a joint collaborative leveraging existing pipeline assets? The DEIS only reviewed and then discounted single system firm deliveries. Why can't and should we look at partnerships or collaborations with other projects are championing? By eliminating the 26-inch line work, we eliminate the disruption and the destruction at the take-up and relay portion of the AIM project, at least in New York. There are many positives to the environment. We have the elimination of potential damage of the HDD and related activities in the river, as well as 3 to 6 months of negative effects on the community. We eliminate the need for a new alignment and its environmental and community damage. We eliminate the need for some of the new pigging stations. We eliminate the damage to Blue Mountain and other locations and the damage to the ecosystem, wetlands, and the mature woodlands. It could also allow Spectre to potentially deliver their immediate needs sooner using the existing assets. Please eliminate up to 5,000 horsepower of the proposed additional compression and related emissions in our non-attainment zone. This would be in Stony Point. Stony Point is has a current total horsepower of almost 39,000 horsepower. Limit any upgrade to under 55,000 instead of 60,000 requested. At Stony Point, the current system is being upgraded. There's an additional remaining 2,800 horsepower that is not accounted for. Where is it going? Where is that fuel rate calculation and the related emissions? Is this horsepower for some future undocumented project, maybe the Atlantic Bridge or another project? If it is, I'll submit it.
My name is William Houston, Huston. Clean air and water are essential for life, and this project presents great threats to clean air and water, and thus to life. The Title V air quality permit is grossly deficient. In fact, why do we have 2 Title V permits? Why is this AIM project not have a single Title V permit with cumulative impacts? In fact, this is required by both NEPA and also SECRA, which is the New York State version of that. So it looks like that this, in many different ways, the Algonquin AIM project is being segmented in violation of federal and state environmental law. This is a very serious omissions. For example, if you examine the Title V impact, there's been quite a few speakers today who have been asking for an independent health study. The word cancer does not occur in the Title V permit or in the DEIS. So how can we be fully evaluating the air quality impacts when the word cancer, neither is the word carcinogen. Although these compressor stations will be emitting known carcinogens, the health and medical community do have the ability and do know how to do the health impact analysis. It just was not done. These are gross deficiencies. The Algonquin AIM, it's hard to get a handle on exactly what the full capacity is due to critical energy infrastructure, but by my calculations, it's on the order of 2 billion cubic feet per day. There is no way, this thing is being way over-engineered. Have we looked at what is the public public need for a 42-inch pipeline, cumulatively taking 2 billion cubic feet of gas per day. It looks like it's aiming for 2 LNG export terminals actually up in Canada. One is in Nova Scotia and the other is in New Brunswick. Because it is running within 1,500 feet of Indian Point, which has been called the most dangerous nuclear power plant in America, I just want to tell you that FERC and PIMSA will both tell you, will both admit that the calculation for the potential impact radius is grossly deficient as defined under law right now. I have done independent research and I've looked at 5 major pipelines. Thank you.
How are you? My name is Christopher Ryan, R-Y-A-N. I've been a member of Local 754 for the past 8 years. I went through a rigorous apprenticeship program. I can attest to the training the men and women received that will build this pipeline. I've worked in this industry for quite a bit. I know the safety procedures used by Spectra, as well as other pipeline operators and other contractors. This project will use local union labor and help the economic condition of this county, as well as my fellow brothers and sisters in Local 754. The DEIS is clear as to the emissions, and those of us who have worked at a pigging site understand the care and strict procedures used to minimize any contamination and surrounding areas. I can also attest to knowing many pipeliners who worked in this industry and continue to have shown no ill health or any effects to exposure to emissions from fracking gas or any other gas. I urge the DEC to issue the necessary permits to get this project started and over so we can get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Rosemary Muscolo.
Rosemary Muscolo, M-U-S-C-O-L-O. I am a resident of the hamlet of Verplank, which is just across the river from Stony Point here. And my concerns are that the emissions of the existing station as they are potentially can drift across the river because there's a strong breeze coming toward the Westchester County side of the Hudson. And so the increase to emissions is a concern to not only those living right here immediately near Stony Point, but to those of us in northern Westchester County, Peekskill, Verplank, Montrose, Buchanan, and the surrounding community. Our town council has come out against the entire project. I believe our supervisor spoke earlier today. I also would just like to point out that I'm a daughter of and granddaughter and niece of an operating engineer. None of us object to people working. That's clearly not our concern. And we know the skills the men here tonight have, the construction techniques that these men will put into place on a pipeline is not the worry. The worry is what the pipeline is carrying and the emissions that will be compressed and released into the atmosphere, as well as the amount and volume running past Indian Point and about 1,000 feet from my home where the new loop will be created. Because I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, a Girl Scout leader, I've got a lot of labels. But because I wear this shirt, I'm not just a concerned citizen, I'm an environmentalist, which seems to have become the media's word, a negative term. I venture to guess that many of you that work for the DEC would consider yourselves environmentalists. We're concerned about our own health and welfare and those of not just this generation, but generations to come. I do work for a law firm, and so you think about the liability issues that are out there all the time, and then the way the energy markets have tanked in the recent history here. I'm concerned with the liability in 20 years, 30 years. What happens when Spectra merges with another company, or becomes a subsidiary of a Canadian company, or goes out of business, goes bankrupt. Who is going to clean up the mess that potentially might be here? Will this be the next Superfund site? I'd like to thank Governor Cuomo and New York State for putting a hold on fracking. Don't let Spectra out of Texas create the infrastructure to pass through fracked gas that we know is not healthy for us through our state.
Hi, my name is Pony Sheehan. It's Sheehan. I live across the river in Peekskill. I'm on the board of the Lower Hudson Sierra Club and the Salma River Audubon. As a concerned environmentalist, I am speaking to you and everyone here to reject the pipeline. Living adjacent to Blue Mountain, where I bird and I hike, it concerns me that the prospect of a pipeline and the overall impact of the wildlife in the environment. The pipeline project would involve clearing a right-of-way and removal of many mature trees and create a huge disruption to the existing wetlands. Thousands of trees would be cut down and much of the landscape cleared for the new easement to make room for the 130-foot increase of the 75-foot wide easement already in place. What also concerns me is the impact of this project would bring, as well as potential damage to the park regarding the removal of many of these trees, the mature trees, and the impacts of the vernal pools, wetlands, and as well as the habitat and the biodiversity. The AIM project would impact Blue Mountain Reservation, where I live, as well as the surrounding communities. And living near Indian Point, where a possible pipeline rupture could occur, is catastrophic. There is an obvious public safety risk. Risk to our home values, the proximity of the high-pressure pipelines and potential for an explosion would impact our property, diminish its values, and reduce our quality of life. Building a new pipeline would lock us into a higher carbon emissions when we should be investing into renewable energies that cannot be exported and will provide a secure energy future. Thank you so much.
Dr. Larissa Durska, DYRSZKA. As a physician, I'd like to thank the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for your support of the Health Commissioner's findings that the potential health and environmental impacts are too great to allow fracking to proceed in the great state of New York at this time. Acting DOH Commissioner Zucker pointed out that we need more studies regarding the long-term safety of hydraulic fracturing. So it is with infrastructure transporting and processing the gas. And as with fracking, what we know of the health impacts from gas infrastructure is of concern. The volume of emissions from compressor stations is significant. The 2013 RAND study of air quality damages in Pennsylvania has determined that 60 to 75% of the estimated damages, most due to health problems, result from compressor station activities. Dr. Alan Robinson of the Carnegie Mellon University estimates that the greatest nitrogen oxide and volatile organic compound emissions in Pennsylvania will be from compressor stations by the year 2020. The AIM project would increase compressor station horsepower and would produce 275,000 to about 300,000 tons per year of air pollutants. New York's Attorney General said that the project will result in 1,020,133 tons of equivalents of CO2 per year. Yet the permits state that the DEC would be allowing these very large greenhouse gas increases above the Regulation 6 NYCRR Part 231-13 significant threshold of 75,000 tons per year based on a recent Supreme Court decision. This seems to be directly counter to Governor Cuomo's statement that it is our responsibility to develop an alternative for safe, clean economic development. In yesterday's State of the State address, Governor Cuomo unveiled plans to invest $20 million to protect farmland in the Hudson Valley. We know from peer-reviewed literature that increases in ozone negatively impact agricultural yield. And this project area is already in non-attainment with ozone, even without the increases. In addition to the increased greenhouse gases and ozone health ramifications, the tons of other pollutants, including formaldehyde, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, benzene, styrene, toluene, hexane, acetone, and carbon tetrachloride, will seep into the soil and the regional watersheds. The logic of allowing this increase escapes me, and it's perhaps in direct conflict with Governor Cuomo's policy and intentions. Allow me to call attention to Regulation 6 NYCRR 211.1, which, quote, requires that no person shall cause or allow emissions of air contaminants to the outdoor atmosphere of such quantity, characteristic, or duration which are injurious to human, plant, or animal life, or to property, or which reasonably interfere with the comfortable enjoyment of life or property. These emissions, and with the excessive noise and odors and health impacts, will impact and should be a reason to deny the permits. Thank you.
Amy Rosemary.
Hi, I'm Amy Rosemary. I'm a councilwoman in the town of North Salem. I'm here to urge the DEC to do its job and protect us, to look out for our health and safety. I'm starting by quoting from an email from Paul Blanche, a nuclear engineer, concerning and the NRC response to his Freedom of Information appeal and his response. In December, a congressional office asked the NRC how many other U.S. nuclear plants have gas lines as close to the site as Indian Point. The NRC responded, citing 3 sites that have gas lines in the vicinity of the site, and said none are as close as the gas lines at Indian Point. Paul notes that this is an inaccurate response from the NRC. He was informed by an inside source that the Turkey Point nuclear plant in Florida has natural gas lines in the proximity of the site. This may be a simple oversight by the NRC, however, further research into this issue revealed additional problems that significantly question the accuracy and assumptions of Entergy's and the NRC's analysis of gas line ruptures. The analysis for Turkey Point discusses the explosive impact of a rupture of a 24-inch gas line operating at 772 psi. The new line at Indian Point is 42 inches in diameter, operating at 850 psi, more than 4 times the capacity of Turkey Point. According to a summary of the Turkey Point analysis for using the criteria for Indian Point, the damage blast radius is 3,097 feet. If this is accurate, the blast radius at Indian Point would be significantly greater and may even encompass the entire site and all the equipment necessary to safely prevent core damage and significant release of radiation. The second question by the congressional offices was, what is the differential between the distance where we are okay and where we would not be okay, i.e., what is the margin of error in these calculations? Where is the distance where the pipes could not be without compromising safety? I think maybe someone said that was protected info and that couldn't be shared. If so, please confirm. The NRC responded, yes, this information is official use only, security-related information, and cannot be shared. This security information, which the NRC will not share with congressional representatives, is openly discussed in Paul's Freedom of Information appeal for both the Dresden nuclear plant and Turkey Point. Why is this information security-related information for a nuclear plant located in an area in the highest population density not available but readily available for other plants? Is it possible that the NRC releases information when its desires are met but withholds the information when the results are unacceptable? This is particularly disturbing because the Department of Homeland Security says that the NRC is responsible for safety.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin O'Neill, O''N''E''I''L''. I did not prepare remarks tonight, but I wanted to get my name on the list and speak to this audience and maybe tell a story and share a little passion, because that's what is happening in my life. I've in a year in August, I'll be in Westchester County for 50 years. I've built businesses in New York City. I've had dozens, 50, 80 employees. I've raised a family. put them through college, and I've pretty much stopped everything when I discovered what's going on in this country with regards to fossil fuel. I find it a complete abomination what's happening, and I deeply respect the actions of the New York State DEC in taking a stand, for once, in turning the tide on this fossil fuel industry. We've got a cultural revolution that we have to initiate, and the people that are fighting the fossil fuel industry, I think, are doing that, or at least starting that. It may not complete or even get very far in my lifetime, in our lifetimes, but we have a moral obligation to do what is right and to say what is going on. And who doesn't like labor? I mean, for God's sakes, the middle class of this nation was built by profound, hardworking union action. And where are they now? They've been decimated by actions of a corporate coup d'etat that has taken over this country and is defeating us gradually, nickel by nickel, dime by dime, over and over. And it's removing the ability of individuals to, we're working so hard, mothers and fathers, children, everybody is working their tail off. Why? Because we have opened up the floodgates and we're competing on a global level. Well, folks, global competition, if we want to compete with it, we got to get down into the pennies per hour. What are we doing that for? We have to pay attention. And stopping fossil fuel is a hard, big job that will take an enormous amount of work. A lot more work than is necessary to burn fossil fuel. That's cheap energy. That's expensive to our health. If we work together to transform that, I think we can put a lot more people to work and we can improve the life on this planet. Will I live to see that? Will we live to see that? Even if we don't, starting to do that can inspire our children, can inspire other nations, can remove hate from the world. And I encourage everyone to study what these pipeline fighters are doing. It's enormously beneficial. I've never seen such great people in my life, and I respect you all, and I'm glad everyone is here listening to what's going on. Thank you.
My name is Michelle Solomon, S-O-L-O-M-O-N, and I'm going to read a letter from a pediatric pulmonologist from Mount Kisco in Westchester. And he writes, "To whom it may concern, it was recently brought to my attention that plans are underway to expand a compressor station to Stony Point in Southeast. I was completely unaware of this, and frankly, the concept scares me. As a pediatric pulmonologist in Mount Kisco, I am currently inundated with children of all ages who seek consultation for difficulty breathing. Most of it is about asthma, and the statistics do not lie. Asthma is on the rise. One of the leading theories for the rise of asthma relates to our ever-expanding carbon footprint. Studies have shown that many allergens grow more potent and plentiful in the presence of higher CO2 levels. Other conditions that I care for include chronic cough, chronic sinusitis, the acid reflux associated with most respiratory conditions. Additionally, asthma allergies and having big tonsils and adenoids result in disturbed nighttime sleep. Obstructive sleep apnea. Environmental triggers are oftentimes the culprit for this disturbed sleep and obstructive sleep apnea. OSA in children can result in poor school performance, neurocognitive deficits, impulsivity, hyperactivity, irritability, anxiety, and depression. Long-standing OSA, even in children, will predispose to right and left-sided heart failure. Additionally, since OSA can masquerade as attention deficit disorder, ADD and ADHD, many children are improperly started on medication to treat symptoms of ADD. Such children are placed on amphetamines at very young ages for indeterminate lengths of time. The effects of a child being on such medications long-term is unknown, but considered to be unfavorable. This is a tremendous amount of illness and need for doctor visits, medication and investigations, emergency room visits, and overnight hospitalizations, and missed school days and missed work days, and lost income and exorbitant medical bills. And this is all occurring in the presence of the existing environmental pollutants. This is already too much pediatric respiratory illness, well exceeding the resources needed to care for them here in lower New York State. Add a compressor station to the mix with its inherent cornucopia of poisons, and such a future is a grim picture for our children. For example, the volatile organic compounds are not only poisonous in themselves, but can lead to chemical pneumonia and pneumonitis in children. The pulmonary damage from these compounds is oftentimes irreversible. Compounds like naphthalene in predisposed individuals can result in life-threatening anemia. No good can come to our region from introducing compressor stations. The pennies or dollars saved on our energy bills from this source of gas will not outweigh the medical expenses of treating childhood respiratory illness.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last speaker card that I had. Is there anyone in the room now that would like to make a comment this time? All right, with that, thank you very much.